or disagree on the motion to amend? It's been moved and seconded. We're discussing that now.
Is that a motion to amend, Mr. Chairman, or a substitute motion?
No, it's a motion to amend.
I believe I said either a friendly amendment or to substitute, whichever makes more sense.
I'll accept the friendly amendment, so let's just move forward on that.
Okay.
You know.
If my parliamentary procedure is correct, and Dr. Barton's an expert here, we vote on the motion to amend. If that passes, then we go back and vote on the original motion.
Correct.
Well, no. What's happened, you have a motion and a seconded on the item. Dr. Barton has presented a friendly amendment, which Board Member Ellis has accepted. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Barton, but the friendly amendment says that the following items be substituted for the original motion, which would be the adopted budget, the county letter of comment on the adopted budget, the annual audit report, the first interim budget report, the county letter of comment on the first interim budget report, the second interim report, the county letter of comment on the second interim report, the unaudited actuals, and the J90. You added the J90.
That's right.
So that's the list, and you can take an up or down vote on that motion.
Very good. Further discussion? All in favor, Mrs. Stanton?
Aye.
Dr. Barton?
Aye.
Dr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Aye.
Aye.
Corey.
Corey Morris, our student board member.
Aye.
I recall the words of Marshall McLuhan, the higher the definition, the less the involvement. So we hope we've involved you in this convoluted conversation. Okay, we'll move on now. New business, board policy number 1120, agenda construction.
Yes, Mr. President, as you all know, and members of the board, we've been, for the last year and a half, updating our board policies, and we will continue to do so this year. And this board policy needs to be updated, and I've asked Kim Stallings to give you the updates to reflect what we do.
Thank you, Superintendent Steinhauser. Mr. President, members of the board. What we presented for the board's consideration today is a common policy for public agencies, as I'm sure you're aware. I'd like to thank Shirley in my office for collecting a lot of policies from other school districts and using CSBA's model for most of the language in this policy. And also Brent North, our legal counsel, for reviewing it. I'll just point out some of the main points in the policy. There are some limits on individual speakers in the proposed policy, 3 minutes on speakers addressing non-agenda items, 30 minutes total, 5 minutes for speakers addressing agenda items. Obviously, such items are subject to the board's considerations and motions to alter. It's worth noting that those type of limitations are considerably less restrictive than we see in most of the other public agencies we looked at. For example, the City of Long Beach allows 3 minutes for speakers on agenda items, a total of 30 minutes. This one, by contrast, is 5 minutes per speaker with no limit. Finally, I guess I would just note that the policy doesn't really represent any significant departures from the district's long-standing practices, and for the most part it simply memorializes those practices, and it's in that spirit that is presented to the board for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Stallings. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, President Meyer, I have a couple issues with this motion. First of all, it appears to be a minor abridgment of the public's right to participate in school board proceedings. And my other concern is that it appears to be, again, a minor power shift from the board as a whole to the superintendent and to the board president. And so based on those concerns, I will not be able to support the motion as it is currently written.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Dr. Barton?
Yeah, my question, I guess, is somewhat similar. On the third page under B, where it says, an individual may speak for a total of 3 minutes on non-agenda items and may not submit additional forms in an effort to extend the 3-minute time limitation. It seems to me a judgment call whether somebody's speaking on several issues and has a right to speak on several issues. I'm not sure I like the wording, but other than that, I'm okay with the revisions.
Thank you, Dr. Barton. Further discussion?
I'd just like to say that this basically does memorialize what we have been doing as a board for the 16 years that I've been on the board. Same past practice.
Other comments? All in favor, Mrs. Stanton?
Aye.
Dr. Barton?
Aye.
Dr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
No.
Aye. Corey?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you so much. Program Improvement School Report. Dr. Williams?
Mr. Chairman, at an earlier workshop, we had an opportunity to get a report on the progress of our schools, and that report was favorably given to us by our new Lynn over there.
New Lynn is Jim.
Jim. In addition to that, there was some concern and comments made at the last board meeting about schools that were being placed on program improvement. And one of the things that I talked about at that time was allowing these schools to come in and get an opportunity to discuss their program improvement status and also plans for improvement. And that's what this motion goes to the heart of, is allowing those schools an opportunity to come in and discuss what they believe and feel is the reason for them to be a program improvement school. So the recommendation is that the superintendent shall invite teams from local program improvement schools to the Board of Education workshop in December. The teams will share information regarding their efforts and their plans to address the academic needs of each student. At a subsequent regular board meeting, as soon as possible, the superintendent and our other district staff will summarize reports of the school teams. Recommend adoption.
A second?
Discussion.
The first thing, I applaud the idea because we've had some discussion about this. Mr. Ellis also brought it up earlier as a crucial issue that we start dealing with program improvement schools on a consistent basis. So I'm pleased with the effort in that direction. The initial thing that strikes me, though, is that the superintendent shall invite teams, but there's no definition of what those teams, who would be on those teams. And so I would prefer that the document included a way in which all stakeholders at the site are represented so that we do get a sense of what's actually occurring, so that there's no sense of someone having a special agenda to present.